Good afternoon for me in the Seattle area. We are so excited to be launching our Digital Learning webinar today on supporting early learners computational thinking with Codie Blocks. My name is Becky Keene from Digital Labs, and with me I have Jess Hall. Welcome, Jess.
Hi, Becky. Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, of course. It's so exciting to have us working together. Ever since Codie Blocks kind of reached out to me and said, "Hey, it feels like we're doing some of the same things with digital learning." And so it was absolutely our pleasure to invite you on today. I'm going to jump into our content for those of you joining live. And also, I know some of you will be watching this recording. We're going to just jump right in with everything here. And I'm saving some lightning round questions for Jess at the very end, where we're going to just dig into her thoughts around computational thinking and early learners. So let's get this party started. I have been interested in computational thinking for a long time. Not nearly as long as Jeanette Wing has been. So Jeanette Wing, for those of you who aren't aware, go, ChatGPT, her name. She released a paper in 2006 that talked about the way we think as fundamental to computer science, but also cross-disciplinary. And I think that's really important to recognize that these skills are not just about computer science. They are ultimately about so much more than that. So Jeanette Wing really talks through in her paper, and this is where I'm getting this information: abstraction, algorithmic thinking, decomposition, and pattern recognition. So abstraction first, what does that mean? It means focusing on important information while filtering out unnecessary details. It's like recognizing a map of a classroom doesn't need to show every crayon, just the key landmarks like desks and maybe a read aloud chair and the exit door. Thinking about algorithmic thinking, that's developing step by step, instructions or rules that might help solve a problem. So young children often participate in algorithmic thinking activities when they write the steps to brush their teeth or write the steps to feed the class pet, right? We practice those things as we work with students on their expository writing, writing directions, order of operations, all of that thinking that really helps with their executive function, to be honest. We also have decomposition. This is where we break down a big problem into manageable parts. So for young learners, it might be, getting ready for school in the morning. What does that look like at your home? And how do you put your shoes on before you get dressed? Probably not. How do we take this big thing, like maybe having to make your bed, maybe eating breakfast, maybe you wait to eat breakfast until you get to school? Like, what are the things that it takes to get to school in the morning? And breaking down that big picture into really small pieces. Finally, pattern recognition. That's where, of course, we're identifying similarities, trends, or regularities. Now, children do this all the time when they notice that maybe their favorite song has a chorus that repeats, and they learn the chorus first because that's something they hear all the time. Maybe it's something about a show that they love to watch, like the show we're going to talk about in a few minutes with Codie Blocks, where they recognize that maybe they're more interested in shows with bold colors or catchy songs or interesting characters. And we can talk about all of these concepts with even our littlest learners. And the reason I think computational thinking is so incredibly powerful is because it benefits all complex challenge thinking. When when students learn to break down problems and spot patterns and create step-by-step solutions, they can apply that thinking to reading comprehension, to math word problems, to science experiments, to everyday life, to problems on the playground, if you're in a school that gets to go enjoy a playground at recess every day. So regardless of, what career they're headed into, they don't need to be headed into building video games as a career, although they could be, to benefit from computational thinking. This is foundational logic that helps students become creators instead of just consumers all the time. So, kind of some brain skills. I'm going to list these off. I'm not going to talk through each one, but thinking about how these skills really infuse in kids' brains. And what I love is that when schools kind of adopt these principles holistically, they're able to use common vocabulary and strategies that all kids benefit from across grade levels and across curriculum. And that's an opportunity for me, for example, as a literacy teacher, to use terminology like, hey, let's use some pattern recognition to look at the plot line of this book. Or let's use abstraction to think about what really mattered when we study an event in history when I was a humanities teacher. Like these things surface in all areas of our content. Now, this aligns so incredibly well with the work we do at Fidgetal Labs, and that's how we got connected to Codie Blocks originally, because Fidgetal means we're bridging between a physical manipulative and a digital component, a digital space. That might mean that we write on a sticky note before we draft it in Word. It might mean that we draw it out before we design it in Canva. It might mean that we do physical components alongside. We might build something in Legos before we build it in Minecraft. Those are really simple examples of ways that we bridge those gaps. So bridging worlds is a big part of what we talk about at Digital Labs. But we also talk about being playful and purposeful all at the same time. We know that children need to have fun with purpose, with value, with authentic reasons, with a cause and effect action happening, something where their work and their play is impactful. We know that the tools need to be accessible and inclusive. We don't promote tools that can only be used by a certain kid in a certain demographic with a certain level of funding. We like to make sure that kids have access to all sorts of things. And it should be tactile and visual and kinesthetic and auditory support, translation if possible, right? We're looking for all of these types of things. And then finally, building toward independence. We know that children develop confidence when they get to use their hands, when they get to move things around and manipulate things before they put it in a digital context. Digital can feel very abstract. It can also feel like it's not reality. And when we want to teach our learners that their physical world has real impact in a digital space and that those things are connected and the things we say online, it's just like we're, in person, all those skills we're trying to teach kids, we really want to build up that natural progression toward technology fluency. So enter Codie Blocks, which is a completely phygital environment. It is so much fun. Here's a few of the pieces of Codie Blocks. So I'm going to show this on the website in just a moment, but I know I like a visual overview before I jump into a demo. So the teacher portal, right? I log in as a teacher and I've got all my lessons, the dashboard, everything all organized. It's incredibly simple to navigate. It did not take a tutorial. In fact, I got access a few months ago and just kind of clicked around on my own for 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, I know what to do. It's so simple. There's interactive lesson plans, which we're going to jump into. There's the Mia and Codie episodes. Now, if you've seen Mia and Codie before, you may have. This is kind of the supplement kit that goes along with it. So Mia and Codie is this cartoon, an animated show that's about solving problems through coding. And those episodes are built right into the whole Codie Blocks environment. There's the interactive mobile app, which I am actually going to demo as well. I have my iPad right here in front of me, and we're going to take a look at that. Then the doc and blocks, which the kit that I have with me is going to be critical to this whole thing. So I have this cute little doc, right, where then I can build in the code for the problem that I'm trying to solve. And then when I press play, the character does it. You're all going to be so amazed at what this does. It's really very cool. And then unplugged activities. So again, the components of, the screen, the cartoon, the mobile app, the physical space, the dock and blocks, as well as the unplugged activities that are meant to be experienced physically. Jess, is there anything I missed in there?
No, you did an exceptional job of putting that together. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Great. Well, it's so straightforward. That's like not super confusing. So again, in a minute, we're going to jump into the learning lessons, which is what I want to show off. This is what it looks like when you just first jump in. Notice you have those little lock icons. So for free, just getting started, you can go in and explore all of this. There's a 7-day trial. You can check it out, try it with your students. And then, of course, because, people have jobs, there is a cost associated with continuing that and getting access to all of the lessons. So just know that off the start. This is not free 50 free. This is something where you can go access the Mia and Codie content, but to do the actual lessons, there's a cost associated with that after the trial. The other thing I want everyone to know about is that it does not come with an iPad or an Android tablet. So you would have that in your classroom if you want to use that component. You could still do all of this without a tablet, but we know that a lot of our school systems have an iPad or an Android tablet in front of their little learners. So it's very accessible. But if you didn't have that, you could still do these activities completely. You can also do them without this kit. You could just do them through the mobile app without the kit. You could do it just together up front on an interactive display. So there's lots of options how phygital you want it to be based on your funding available, right? But if you were to get the kit, this is the kit that I have. I literally took this picture on my lap yesterday. So it comes with the dock, which is this part we've been talking about. And then it came with just a standard set of blocks to get started, little charging cable, USB-C, very simple. And then this adorable carry case, which I'm just going to hold up, which is fabulous. So that allows me to keep it really organized and not lose track of things in my classroom. Now, this is one kit. Jess, could you just let people know, like, what are the other kits available? What are the possibilities?
Well, so far that is the kit that we offer.
Okay.
We do plan to add in a very short period of time, we do plan to add some additional blocks, additional emojis that can be added to this. I
Perfect.
don't want to speak out of turn, but we're considering which subject areas. And then very shortly, we will also have something to be used at the front of the class. You mentioned whole group instruction, a large magnetic dock and block. So students are
Oh,
actually getting up, getting their little wiggles out, as I like to
yep.
say, getting
Yep.
up and putting the magnets on the board, working together as a group, and bonus points if the teacher is willing to actually act out the code that the students have built for them.
For sure that's bonus points. Okay, I
Uh-huh.
love that. I should have stopped sharing while you were talking because I'm gonna share a different screen anyway, but thank you for reviewing that. I think that's gonna be really great. All right, so I want to take a look now over together. I just want to give a quick preview of the actual Codie Blocks environment. So you're gonna go apps.codieblocks.appsingular.codieblocks.com to get here. And I'm just going to drop this in the chat, but we'll also put it in the recap email that everyone gets who's registered for this webinar. If you're viewing this on YouTube, check it out in the description of the video. We'll have that link there. But we talked about the lessons. Now, just quickly, getting started, this just cracks me up. It's so crazy simple. When I get a new tool, I kind of set aside time in my schedule to like jump in and figure it out. And I got time back, Jess. I was like, oh, okay. And
I love hearing that so
yeah,
much.
I don't just throw that out there like willy-nilly. This, honestly, I was like, this is easier than I thought. So very, very easy to get started, gives you an idea of what to do. The dashboard, crazy simple. It allows me to get in as a student, and I'm going to show that actually, and set up my students. It's pretty straightforward, but I think where teachers are going to want to go first is the lessons. So I just wanted to show off those other things. So mine are all unlocked, and I'm just going to show off lesson one. Okay. So the first thing we have here is a 4-minute video. Now, we all know I don't work in a classroom anymore, but I volunteer with a group of 3 and 4-year-olds at my church every single Sunday. I teach Sunday school. Yes, it's true. And so I work with 3 and 4-year-olds for an hour and a half every single Sunday, and 4 minutes is it. Like, that's the total time span that they have. And you'll notice that there are stopping points, everyone, in this video. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm pretty sure I'm screen sharing sound. Just want to make sure that's on. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit of the video so people get an understanding of what this looks like.
Run the code. Make things happen. Run the code. Get things done. Run the code. Start the action and have some fun. Run the code. Codie in a box. I'm so excited. I'm so excited too, Mia. Why are we excited? Because we finally got our 3D printer. Wow! This really is a great day. With this 3D printer, we can make our own coding blocks and teach you everything you've ever wanted to learn. Everything? Yes, Codie. Coding blocks are the instructions that help me program Codie so he can learn new things. Codie, would you please recycle that box while I set up the printer? Gotta remember the 3 R's. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
I hope you are all paying attention to reduce, reuse, recycle, because there's about to be a quiz. So you'll notice that it stops automatically. And this is the point where then as the teacher, I'm not expecting kids to read these, I now have the opportunity to dig into some discussion questions. Now, I'm going to scroll down here because it's really important to notice that all of this is prepped for the teacher ahead of time. So I, as a teacher, come in and I can look ahead of time and say, oh, yes, I'm going to choose, this discussion question, they're banded and color coded. So I know ahead of time if I'm trying to target a science standard or computational thinking standard or even a literacy standard, like what did Mia say to Codie to help him feel better, social emotional learning or literacy. So this is all kind of pre-built for the educator. It's kind of like an ed puzzle meets, anyway, this is fabulous that it's already kind of built out. And then I could add my own as an educator if I wanted to. It gives me a preview of the different tasks that are required. And this, I think, is really helpful because then I know my learners and I might come in and say to them ahead of time, like pull the blue blocks that are showing in the coding activities. And I might talk to them ahead of time about like, what do you think these blocks mean before we have to actually use them in coding? Or, these look like opposites. What do you think it means to go, what opposite is this word? And this is up, this is down, like building vocabulary and helping them see that in advance because it's already been prescripted for me. I know what to pull. And so I think that's really helpful. A couple of assessment ideas. Then the downloads. So this takes me to, if I need to pull this out and like provide it to my administrator or a parent or an instructional assistant, an aide, if I need to run AI on it to get it translated for someone so that they could access it differently, like all of that is available here as just a quick download. And then the unplugged activities as well. 2 of them for this one particularly. So, and I can see even just, I'm not sure if this is like one of the messaging that you talk about, but could you see even sending this home as like a follow-up home worksheet?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We talk a lot about the home and school connection, and
Yeah.
there are absolutely activities that are built into the lessons that can be printed out and sent home with students.
Great.
One of the things we're always concerned about is access at home. And so we want to make sure that even if students don't have access to internet, they do still have a way to practice those skills. So, yeah.
Yeah. And so the unplugged at home, again, if, we felt confident that our students would be able to handle that, it's a really cool opportunity to extend and maybe have some discussions at home around what's going on in the environment. So I'm going to actually switch now. I'm screen sharing from my iPad right in front of me. Here it is. And I want to show you how easy it is for the students. Again, I'm not trying to sell anyone on this. I just want you to be aware of like how much fun I think this could be. So as a student, this is the student screen. I am screen sharing from my iPad right now in front of me. And I'm going to go ahead and choose scan because that is going to give me this little camera is going to pop up and I am scanning the QR on my laptop right next to me. It's all happening in real time. I was going to prep this and then I thought, no, I want people to see how simple this is. Okay, so I set up a student ahead of time named William. I'm sure that you all would have many students here And then I got to choose the icon for William. I could envision having students choose their icon so that if they're not yet reading their own name, they could find their icon and their color. So 3 visual cues here: a colored circle, an icon, and a name for them to sign in. So I'm signing in as William just by tapping William on my screen, and it's confirming. So if a student taps the wrong name, they could, oh no, oh no, Miss Keen, and they could X out. So I'm going to hit play here, and then this is getting me into the Codie app, the Codie Blocks app specifically. And here's Codie talking. Now, I noticed something when I demoed this the other day, and Jess, I was excited to ask you. I did not tell her in advance I was asking this. I couldn't hear any sound until I put headphones in. Is that on purpose?
It's not on purpose, but now you make me wonder, because I have an older iPad and I've wondered the same thing. Maybe that's it. But I will tell you, based on my experience at Family STEM Night in December, the iPad generation 5, at least 5 and above, you get the sound.
Yeah. Okay. Mine is an older iPad as well. I don't remember which. It's like an Air 3 or something. And it still works great, so I haven't replaced it. But so I couldn't hear sound out loud, but then as soon as I put headphones in, I could hear all of it. So I just want people to be kind of aware of that. So you'll notice that the dock is down below everyone, like on the iPad screen, meaning I don't have to have the physical kit in front of me to do this. I can instead select the blocks on screen, and then when I hit play here, Codie does what I have just told it to do with the block. If I want to connect a dock, it is super, super easy. So I press the little gear icon in the top corner, and then everyone can see on screen I've got that connect dock button. And I would say, yes, I do have a block dock. It's right here, and I'm going to choose connect. Then it gives me on-screen directions. Now, would I have a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old do this on their own? No, but I can have this set up for them at a station. And if it, for some reason, turns off, it's so easy to fix. So I just press and hold the green arrow, and it says it starts flashing. It literally means it's like flashing. I was looking all over for the little light. No, the whole button flashes. So then continue, and it says, hey, do you want to connect this dock? Yes, I do. So now when I look at the mobile app, you'll notice that it's no longer on screen because I'm holding it. And instead, I'm going to take, let's see, so we're trying to get Codie over there. So I'm going to grab my that direction, right block, and just set it in the dock, and you'll see it appears right there on screen. And then I can press the green arrow, and Codie does exactly what I'm doing. How fidgetal is that? I love, like, I cannot tell you how fun it is that the app reacts to what I'm doing in the physical world. So if I add other things, now it's showing me on screen which blocks I should be using as the learner. And so I'm going to just, fill in correctly here. And you can see them just popping in because the physical dock is recognizing what I've done on screen. And I've got a little reset button here as well. So I'm going to end there because I don't want to I feel like we all get, I'm like, where am I sharing from? I'm sharing from here. I feel like we all understand what's going on with this, but I really felt like it was important to show our audience how incredibly simple it is to get going and how they can use this with their students. So it's time now for our lightning round. We've left about 5 minutes for our lightning round questions for
Ready.
Jess. Okay, so here we go. Now, I did give her these questions in advance, everyone, if you're wondering, because that's fair. But so she's ready. So question 1. When schools adopt new computer science or coding curricula, which happens all the time, how do you think leaders should differentiate between what's pedagogically meaningful and what's simply the latest trend or novelty?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's hard. I've actually been in this industry since the dawning of the iPad in the classroom. So I've watched this happen in real time. Yeah. I think what's really important is obviously you want to look for standards alignment or alignment to your instructional plan or your strategic plan to make sure the resources that you're picking will actually map to the goals that you have laid out for the district. Figuring out ahead of time, at least where I've had the most success with schools and districts, figuring out ahead of time what this is going to look like in the classroom, providing a structure and time for the resource. And then, really looking at how it fits, like I said, into that instructional plan and laying out those objectives and goals ahead of time, create a much more pedagogically meaningful experience than just this is pretty and like, let's try it. So yeah, yeah.
Love
It's
it.
got some pre-work
Okay.
has to be done.
Yep. All right, we're moving on to the next one. This is lightning round, everyone.
Ready.
Not a panel discussion. All right. So from your vantage point, right, what indicators best demonstrate that a coding program is improving student thinking, problem solving, persistence, computational thinking, not just checking yet another curriculum?
Yeah, I think you actually called this out earlier in the presentation. There are, obviously we really index on test scores. We're looking for evidence of student growth and student achievement, but there are, leading indicators, we'll call them, of student achievement or skill achievement in these areas of, can our students break down problems? Are we seeing them look at work they're doing differently? Are they spotting patterns? Demonstrating persistence is a huge one especially with the littles. We want to make sure they're happy and they're going back to keep, trying to solve a problem, even if they're not getting the answer right. So looking for those leading indicators of that learning is really key in the whole process.
Okay, great answer. And I love that you're focusing on looking at like what is the student getting out of this? Not just a test score, but like their anecdotal evidence. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
What have you learned in your time at Codie Blocks and elsewhere about designing or supporting coding programs that genuinely expand access for students who traditionally have not seen themselves reflected in computer science? I think we can see that in the Mia and Codie cartoon, but also just broadly.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I've been working in ed tech for quite a while now, and I think I've learned that it's critical, right? We want to make sure students have access to these types of programs. I've watched students who have not engaged with other content areas engage in computer science in a way that sometimes educators didn't think possible. I've watched students light up and think about things differently. I've watched students take what they've learned in computer science and begin to transfer those skills into other areas. Watching a student light up for the first time because the information or the way they're receiving information is so exciting to them is a moment that I will continue to do this work for as long as I can.
Okay. Yeah, that was perfect. Okay. Two more.
All right.
We're doing great on time. Oh my goodness.
Excellent.
So how important is teacher confidence and pedagogical support in the success of computer science instruction, especially in early learner settings? And I'm going to just caveat this by saying so many of our early learner teachers have not had any computer science training because they're focused on early literacy and early numeracy and social emotional learning, right? And so sometimes when we say we're going to give you a computer science curriculum, they're like, no, you're not. So speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun. I've never heard that before. All the
Right.
time. One of the reasons, one of the things that we look to do, especially with Codie Blocks, but just in general when we're designing for early learning, teachers of early learners, is we want to make sure that support is there. Teacher confidence and support is really critical because you do hear teachers, I'm not comfortable teaching this because I don't know it. I've never coded. I don't understand it. So especially you showed the resources really beautifully earlier. The reason the discussion questions are both in the video but also available beforehand, the reason the unplugged activities are there, the reason the standards are there for teachers that don't have that experience, we wanted to provide the most amount of support so they could feel very confident teaching it. And then for those teachers who have experience in it, they have that support, but they can also take it and be as flexible as they want to be with it. But yeah, that confidence is key.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're ready for our final question, Jess. Last question for you in our lightning round. This is a big one. When you think 5 or 10 years out, put your futurist hat on.
Got it.
What do you hope students gain from this early exposure? The whole point of Codie Blocks is pre-K to maybe second grade, at the top end. So we're thinking about that early exposure, not just careers, but in terms of just general learning and problem solving. What do you think is going to benefit students the most here?
Oh, goodness.
Big
You
question.
know, yeah, it is. But it's interesting, living through the last 10 years, right, watching technology change. I think the most important thing that we can do is help students learn how to learn how to think. Computational thinking is so massive and honestly is only becoming more important. Those higher order thinking skills are supremely important, especially to start developing them at a young age. We don't necessarily know what career students are going to have in the future. I mean, even the way education comes to them may be different in 5 to 10 years. And so we want to just make sure students are really ready to continue to learn, continue to be flexible, continue to grow. And I think that, early exposure to coding, early exposure to computational thinking helps them develop those skills so they can continue to build on that knowledge.
Great. Well, thank you, Jess. We are at the end of our time. We're
Thank
perfect
you.
on timing. We would love to work with you at Fidget Labs. So for those of you watching this video, reach out to us to learn more about the things that we offer. If you're looking for getting started on Codie Blocks, I know I talked about how easy it is. But if you wanted us to provide a hands-on workshop, reach out to the Codie Blocks team, reach out to Fidget Labs, because we think this is valuable for kids and just a perfect opportunity to build those foundational thinking skills in our early learners that are going to help them throughout all of life. So thanks everyone for joining, and we'll see you next time on our next episode of Digital Learning.